Hello everybody, it's SHAZIZZ here. Hope you all doing well. This gizmo that you're looking at and the one over there on the left over there, I did a video called lightning motor, and essentially it's basically because what this thing does is it works off of static charges. It's not the actual I'm going to say this and not make a lot of people mad. On an atmosphere motor, Atmo motor, when you charge this thing up, like this side would be positive and that side would be negative. When you put the electrons on there and you charge this up, when the charge gets on there, it tracks itself around, opposites attract. Okay, we all know how the Atmo motor works. This doesn't work that same way. What this uses is the pressure from the high voltage static discharge. Basically, when the static builds up and hits it, it charges that way. And so whenever you hear me all the time talking about why I don't care about current, watts, and amps, is because I've been trying to do something different. For one, high voltage at a high frequency can energize gas into plasma. And a large part of my research is in plasma research. So I want to be able to use the actual plasma itself for multiple purposes, but one of which is to use it to tune. By speeding up and slowing down the electrons inside that plasma, I want to be able to use that to tune. Anyway, this thing is really aggravating at times. It's not something that's really super simple to get tuned up. Every one of these, where you see these little clear deals down here and right here, are spark gaps. And the trick is to get the spark gaps tuned out just right to where you get the hardest arc that you can get off of this deal. Now, these down here are magnetic ballasts, and what they do is whenever they're being pulsed, when the field collapses, it increases it and sends a higher voltage, higher frequency voltage up into the fluorescent bulb to light them. And I'm merely using these as the spark gap is arcing and collapsing to increase the punch on the other side. These capacitors right here are homemade capacitors that you can see is nothing more than just like a cup with a layer of the metal inside and a layer on the metal outside. And when I say the metal, I mean this sheet metal right here. It's a real cheap and easy way to make a capacitor. And for my contact points inside the capacitor, I use this double-sided sticky aluminum tape to tape my wires in there. And then I insulate it on the outside with some clear box tape. So basically what I got going on here is when I energize the deal, the spark gap charges up the capacitor, which gives it a little bit of extra punch. What I did right here, there's a 1,000 volt. I don't remember how many farad. 1,000 volt capacitor here. There's a 1,000 volt capacitor here. These two are in it together. This one here is pretty much a straight shot, but this one here I took a little bit information off of the Jewel Thief, the way it functions. Essentially, there's two coils of wire that are connected at this tip right here. And so when this capacitor pulses, it sends the energy up that way, and as the field collapses, it goes back the opposite way and gives me a bigger punch off of these. These are 16 penny nails that I used heat shrink to insulate the nail between the wire. And these here initially started off to be capacitors in themselves, but they weren't functioning the way that I wanted them to, so I pretty much just used them as a straight shot like these right here. Now my problem that I've got going on, if you notice, if you watch this this doggone flywheel, the rotor inside, you can see that it has a terrible wobble to it. And on the point where where's it at? One of these has a blue mark on it. Doggone it, I can't even see it. There it is. Alright, on this point right here is the farthest out, so I'm not getting the full contact. I need the precision. I need these to every single one of these to be exactly the same distance apart. And so when this thing's going around, this one will be the one that's firing the majority of the time. Well, what I need is a rotor designed to build like this right here, but that is perfectly precision, that doesn't wobble, and so that it will go around. I know that it'll function. Like I say, it'll function. It's even when I had the old wobbly one, the one that was basically, you notice this now has a ring around it, whereas before it didn't. And if you so much as bumped one of these, you'd throw the whole thing out of whack. So that's where I was taking so long trying to get everything situated. And so I had to fight with whether or not this one was closer than that one, and I had to kind of keep wobbling it back and adjusting it, trying to get it right in the sweet spot. And then I got the thing running. Ran for a solid 5 minutes with no problems at all. I messed with one wire, and then it wouldn't fire again right. The key is you want this thing to be able to pulse hard every single time, and that rotor will turn, because as this one is pulsing, on the opposite side there's a static buildup that's actually attracting that opposite side. And since this thing isn't camera friendly, I can't really put it on there and let it set and charge up. I've tried to make, I don't know how many videos already to show you what it is that I'm talking about. But as soon as I figure out how to get past all that, then I'll do a video and show you start to finish. I don't know if you can see down there, probably can't, but in the last video I showed that there's a neon bulb right here, and then there's a neon bulb in here, and all the way around inside this copper tubing, which I need to take some cleaner and clean down because it's turning brown. Anyway, all the way inside this copper tubing is a really tightly wound coil of wire, and all that, the only purpose that is to basically, when those two lights are pulsing, then I know, I can tell how strong my spark gap is, how hard it's pulsing. Anyway, what I did for my power supply, like you saw in that last video if you watched it, this is all that runs that. Alright, basically what it is, I took a project box and I put in a ignition starter. The ignition starter hasn't been modified whatsoever. I just put a few capacitors in there to try to boost it up just a little bit. I actually had a piezoelectric beeper on there that would let me know when that thing was shorting out inside, but it did short out inside and it burned it up, so now all it does is click. this little light right here, indicator light, you want it to be on as least as possible. It's a neon bulb inside there. When you get it to where it's running without that being on, then you know you got the best tuning on your spark gaps. And these are my little probes over here, and it runs off of a AA battery. What you seen going on there, that was all off of one AAA battery. Sorry, I said AA. Anyway, let me see if I can freak the camera out with this doggone thing and show you. I got to shorten this spark gap, and that's another thing too. If you ain't got your spark gap just right with this thing, it'll arc across here, and so you got to adjust your spark gap according to where it's not arcing across there. I'll put a little deal there, see if I can get that to jump over. Alright, hopefully don't forget the camera. Yeah, you hear that clicking whenever it's not jumping across. That's because it's arcing inside. Yeah, let me use 2 of these doggone things. I gotta watch my time on this video. Come on there. Do. Alright. As you can see, the spark gap's just right. It won't arc on the inside, and that little light bulb won't come on. If the spark gap ain't just right, I don't know if you can see that light coming on or not. Anyway, that's my power supply. The power source for this is a little Dollar General store 1.5 volt battery. And so my intentions are to stay down with the voltage that low to prove a point, which I will get to in a different video. But basically that's the rundown of that gizmo right there. And before I get too far, I want to explain my newest gizmo over here. This is a combination of what was going on with my neodymium magnet accelerator. Somewhere inside, there it is. That igniter out of the way. Alright, there's one neodymium magnet sphere. This size in there, so I think it's 3/4 inside a tube that goes all the way around in there. And on the see if I can find it, there it is. Alright, on the outer deal is a core of stainless steel strapping that goes all the way around. And my intentions are to take these igniters right here. You just need to behave yourself. My intentions are to take these igniters right here, which work exactly like this starter right here, with the exception is I would love to see inside of one of these doggone barbecue igniters, 1.5 volt igniters. I can't remember what Charbroil, I think, is the name of the brand of the barbecue grill that it came off of. But these must have some sort of little mechanical oscillator in them to allow them to keep going, whereas I believe you have to have some sort of circuitry in order to pulse these on time. And they work just like those magnetic balances, just like that right there. It basically, when you put your juice to it and the field collapses, it sends an arc out the other side. I'm believing that these will punch a lot harder if I get some more voltage going to it. And it's going to look similar to that one over there with a rotor inside. But hopefully this one here will have more precision to it. That's the problem I've been having. There will be 6 of these, and then 12 similar to those over there, or six of those similar to those over there and 6 of these right here. And those will be the probes around the actual deal. And so what I'm hoping to accomplish is that as I'm pulsing the energy through there, if I'm creating a strong enough magnetic field to interact with that sphere right there, it'll start spinning around as it's being pulsed around by each of these coils that will be connected into a power source that'll be pulsing those coils. So I'm going to try to make use of some of the extra energy going through there. And also, this will have a version of the Wimshurst generator disc on the bottom of the rotor that will also be picking up a static charge. Anyway, that's the short basic rundown of that gizmo right there. It's not together, it's just in the concept stage right now, but I'll tell you one thing's for sure: if you go to test these things to see if they're any good, don't touch them. I found that out the hard way. They'll light you up. Anyway, these right here, and the magnetrons on your doggone lawn mowers and weed eaters. There's several different places to get some of these coils like this. These are just a little bit fancier coils that come off of modern cars to do their deal. But I need a real heavy duty spark. I need the pressure. The pressure is the key. I'm not worried about current, watts, and amps on the input side. I don't care about all that right now. I'll worry about all that later. And that's where I keep making people mad, because I keep telling everybody I don't care about current, watts, and amps. You don't need current, watts, and amps to do what it is that I'm doing. Now, is there some in there somewhere? Sure, but it's insignificant compared to what it is that my ultimate goal that I'm going for. And as far as alternative energy, static energy is so prevalent in nature that if you can tap into it, and I already know that I can charge capacitors with static discharges. It's that leap across that spark gap, and I've done it with a Van de Graaff generator. I've done it with a basically a barbecue starter, and I've done it with a 12 volt Beckett oil burner igniter shooting 20 kilovolts. I've done it with radiant energy. So I know there's multiple ways to charge capacitor banks. And with that said, if this is done right, then I believe that you could actually get some really impressive, not just high voltage out of this thing, but actually some serious high voltage torque. Now, when I think about a device, I don't just think about in one layer. Now, this rotor right here, if this had probes that went all the way, imagine in a 360 degree circle. You got a probe here, you got one here, you got one here, you got one here. The entire sphere, as far as you can get around it, and on the shaft, you have probes all the way around there. Now, Jeremy out there, he's got a really nice looking static motor that he's working on that has all kinds of pins going through there. Rimstar.org's done some pretty good atmospheric motors, some static motors that are really, really good. I believe that a simple concept such as a static motor, an atmospheric motor, however you want to call it, ion drives, all those can be expanded on. The key in the whole deal is going to be precision, and whereas everyone else is trying to get the negative and the positive attraction and repulsion, I'm using the pressure when that arc discharges across there to bump it. And when that fires, the next one all the way around the line, and there you go, man. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it's explanatory. I'm still working on it. I'm still aggravated because I need to get one of these doggone rotors made that are precision. And when I can get that done and I can figure out a way to use camera friendly, we'll start off start to finish, and I'll show you what this little gizmo can do. Right now it's still in the aggravation stage, otherwise the research and development, and that one over there as well. But I spend a lot of time working on this kind of stuff. I got other projects to share with you, and I hope you have some patience with me. I'm trying to do the best I can. I haven't checked my messages in a while. I've kind of been a little bummed out here and there, but I'll be alright. Basically I didn't feel like I wanted to get cussed out, and every time I turn around there's some wise guy telling me something, how ignorant I am or whatever. But yeah, such is life in this day and age, that but either way, I made a promise to the world and I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove free energy no matter what it takes. So in the meantime, stay tuned. I hope you take this idea and run with it and build one of your own. And if you need any help, you can catch me on Skype and join me on SHAZIZZ Radio on Saturdays 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Centrals for the Mad Science Show, or Sundays 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central for the Knights of the Round Table. I believe we can fix this world if we tried hard enough. If we could get everybody to come together, I believe we could do it. And so maybe, maybe that makes me crazy, but I have a genuine love for people and humanity in this world. So I think that if more people, open their hearts to something like that, I think we can do it. Anyway, peace and love, everybody. Take care. I'll keep you updated on whatever else it is I'm doing. I've got a few other projects that I'm working on, and so I spend a lot of time doing this. I hope you like it. Take care.